Someone would like to know about the specific number of elders and deacons in a particular congregation. And that's a good question to ask as you look around today. Sometimes you'll find congregations that might have a number of deacons and maybe one elder, or maybe one or maybe no elders at all, and still some deacons, or you'll just find a number of things along that line. What has the Bible said about congregations and the makeup that they have in that particular congregation? Well, in Philippians chapter 1 and verse 1, it says there, Paul and Timothy, the servants of Jesus Christ, to all the saints that are at Philippi, with the bishops and deacons. It's important to understand the word bishop and the word elder really talking about the same people. It's descriptions of the same work. And so whenever he talks about bishops, he uses the plural. The letter S at the end is plurality. Plurality of bishops or elders, plurality of deacons. We see this again in Acts chapter 20 verse 28 when the Apostle Paul met the elders of Ephesus and met them at Miletus. And there in Acts chapter 20 to give them some final instructions before he leaves, and he says he probably would never see them again. In 1 Peter chapter 5 he speaks of this, Peter does, and he says, the elders that are among you I exhort. He said, I'm a fellow elder too, but notice he uses again the plural elders. You find that's the case in 1 Timothy chapter 3 and about the first 13 verses. And you divide that from 1 Timothy 3 verses 1 through 8 and then verses 9 to 13, because in 1 through 8 of 1 Timothy chapter 3 he talks about the qualifications of elders. And he talks about how that the qualifications must fit each individual man, yes, but at the same time there is a plurality there that is expected among each congregation. You see that there? You see it with the deacons. The qualifications given, 1 Timothy 3, 9 to 13, and then understood from passages like Acts 20, Philippians chapter 1, 1 Peter chapter 5, and other places that there are plurality. There's more than one. Now, does the Bible specifically say there must be 2 elders and 3 deacons, or 2 elders, 2 deacons, or 5 elders and 3 deacons? No. There's never a statement made where you have a specific number given, a specific number that is required, other than this, that you read that little word, that little letter S on the end, which shows a plurality. See? Somebody says, well, I just think you're picking at something. I just don't think that's the case. I think you could have 1 elder, no elders. You could have 5 deacons or 1 deacon or whatever. You could do whatever. Somebody says, you know, you're picking at that letter S here, and really that's not an important thing. Well, wait a minute. You look over Galatians chapter 3, and the Apostle Paul made a similar argument. He made an argument based on 1 letter, and that letter was the letter S. When he speaks about the seeds, there in Galatians chapter 3, he tells the Galatians, he said, I speak not of seeds as of many, but to thy seed, see, which is Christ. He makes an argument there concerning Christ, and he says it wasn't seeds, plural seeds, it was just that 1 seed. See? So if he can make an argument based on the plurality and the singularity of something, in that case a seed, so also I'm going to make the same argument on the very same basis, that God knows what He's talking about. And whenever they're described as being a plurality of elders, plurality of deacons in a congregation, then that's what God expects. And, and we cannot have 1 elder over a congregation or 1 deacon serving. You have to have a plurality. That's what God has said. All the why, to's, and wherefores, I don't know. You can ask God if you'd like, and ask Him why He picked that in particular. I don't know. All I know is this is what He has told us to do. This is the example from Scripture. This is the plain statements of Scripture, and I have to accept them. And when a congregation will accept and will have qualified elders and deacons, according to 1 Timothy 3, 1 to 13, Titus 1, verses 5 to 9. When you have qualified men as elders and deacons, you're going to have what God described as a church that is not lacking, but one that is organized correctly. And that local congregation, organized with its elders, deacons, and saints, can do the work that God gave it to do.